A skinny bill is floated, but is it skinny enough to give you rent assistance? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is LALATE. Hope you're good and safe. This is afternoon's LALATE. Our 2-hour programming block that starts every day with a check at 3:30, then goes to hazard pay, then rent assistance, then FPUC, and then finally rent assistance. Big shocking news today about rent assistance, as shocking new details indicate how nearly 40% of Americans cannot last even a month on savings if they don't get financial relief in the second stimulus package. Here's the shocking detail. Over the last couple of weeks, this channel has been detailing the urgency for a rent eviction moratorium, but no one has given it to you. I've done countless videos about why it should be done, how it can be done, how quickly it can be done by executive order, how quickly it can be done by a one-page bill, whether it's Karen Maloney out of New York, who drafted a one-page bill for Nancy and her postman, whether it's the president who vowed to give you an executive order who didn't. His executive order did not give you an eviction moratorium, whether it's Republicans who vowed to give you an eviction moratorium but have never memorialized it in any bill, whether it's the Democrats who refuse to give it as a standalone bill that's so urgent. There's new economic data today and new statements from the Republicans and Democrats suggesting what the hell is going on. First, Nancy Pelosi is floating a skinny bill. A skinny bill would eliminate a lot of things that are extraneous that don't need to be done now, but would do the most pressing issues right here, right now. The Republicans want to do the same thing, but don't talk about rent eviction in that list. Mark Meadows today, minutes ago, in statements obtained by LLA, which are consistent with his statements on Sunday, said that he would do a skinny bill that included the stimulus check and the post office, but he doesn't include that in their eviction moratorium. What's very deeply troubling is how people seem to not see situations occurring. They don't understand the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is that 40% of Americans who lost a job or reduction at any time have less than 30 days of money left in the bank to survive. A large share of Americans have literally no money sitting around to exist unless they get relief. 28 million Americans were collecting unemployment benefits at the end of July, says the Labor Department. Now they're getting next to nothing, as less than 10 states, it was 7 states this morning, now it's 10 states, are getting about $300 a week. But more alarming, as CNBC reports, 1 in 5 people can't even last 2 weeks off of their savings, if at that. They just don't have emergency money sitting around. How bad is the situation? There are some states that I've detailed on this channel where 2/3 of all renters, 75% of all renters, are facing eviction right now. It's insane. It's literally like insane numbers. 40 million people facing eviction in across the country, a number that has not been seen since the Great Depression. There are reports that over 40% of African Americans and Latinos who rent are facing eviction right now. That there's a big demographic and economic disparity among who is being evicted and who isn't. 50% of Americans who make less than $40,000 a year apparently are out of work. Unemployment claims, again, are being announced tomorrow, but last week was the first time in 21 weeks that it was less than 1 million new unemployment claims, but it was just 900,000, so I mean, where's the improvement on that? The data is really quite troubling, and yet we have great news today that there's talk about skinny bills from both Republicans and Democrats, but is the rent help in there? A lot of viewers overnight, this morning and this afternoon, said in the comments of this channel, said, hey, skinny sounds great, just do 4 things: stimulus, FPUC, rent, and hazard pay. Others said just do 3 of them right now: FPUC, stimulus, and eviction and rent. Now, it makes sense, but in a new report issued this morning, covered on Morning's LALATE, which is a big blockbuster broadcast. Thank you for tuning in this morning. A lot of people tuned in. Nancy Pelosi is thinking of taking some stuff out of the HEROES Act, her mega bill, and putting it into a skinny bill. But what would be left out? She hasn't said. I have said that it makes sense to not take out, to leave in the mega bill, the rent money, not the rent eviction. How would this work? The most pressing issue right this minute is stimulus check, unemployment benefits, and eviction moratorium. And when I say eviction moratorium, I include mortgage forbearance as well. Just understand, I'm always referring to property owners, business property, commercial building owners, and also tenants. Those 3 things have to be done absolutely right now. They needed to be done 5 weeks ago, let alone right now. They have to be done right now. When you do those, and you have an eviction moratorium in place, it stops everything. Everyone's still in their home. It also stops the apartment owner from losing his building or her building. Why? Because if you're in the home, if you keep the tenants in the building under eviction moratorium, they still can't pay the rent because they can't afford it. But the landlord won't lose his building to foreclosure because the bank can't foreclose as well because the law will say they can't. Everything is basically halted. It needs to be done. It needed to be done 3 weeks ago, let alone today. It needs to be done. This is what has to be in a skinny bill. What does not have to be in a skinny bill is a grant program that is set up by the federal government that you go apply for rent, and that the rent is then routed to your landlord, and you apply for utilities assistance, and then they figure out how much money you made in 2019. They calculate, and it just is a long process. I know you got to do it, but you don't have to do it this week. And so a lot of people are saying, hey, take out the urgent things, do them right now, and do the less urgent things in September. With that, there's starting to be great news about reality kicking in finally. I don't know if Nancy's watching this channel. I don't know if Mark Meadows is, stop kicking from some furniture. I don't know if Steve Mnuchin has finally fixed his glasses or if Larry Kudlow's got a new calculator, but someone in this group on both sides has finally woken up. Maybe they've been watching this channel. Maybe they've been hitting the negative button, the thumbs down. You always hit the thumb up because you know Mitch is watching now and then, giving a thumbs down now and then. They've all woken up and now realize, hey, did you never notice that a few of these things are completely urgent right now and these other things are not? So we can do the less urgent things in a few weeks after, you go back and have your Botox at your home state, and you put your feet in the Mai Tai, in the jacuzzi, and do your Mai Tai, and you do all those usual things you do as a rich cat. And then when you come back from your rich, fancy resort home and you want to get back to work while the rest of us are no longer worrying about being evicted, then you can do the other stuff. And so the great news as we sit here on a Thursday is apparently they're starting to really realize this. I don't know when they didn't, but they're starting to realize this. There are some things that I'm still concerned about. I'm concerned that the president, who's, is the president, doesn't understand that his eviction moratorium is not an eviction moratorium. How can you have an eviction moratorium issued by executive order 2 Saturdays ago and call an eviction moratorium? It's not. And everyone's telling you now 3 weeks later, it's still not eviction moratorium. Are we supposed to not question you or something? It's not a personal thing, Mr. President. It's just your eviction moratorium is not doing anything. It's incorrect. It's not an eviction moratorium. It doesn't say it's an eviction moratorium. It doesn't block evictions from occurring. It just says, if you have a question, go talk to Ben Carson. What? Talk about a pillow? I mean, what am I going to go talk to Ben Carson about? I need an eviction moratorium. I don't need oleander plants. I need an eviction moratorium. I don't need the best sleep of my life in a pillow. I need an eviction moratorium. So when there's a problem with an eviction issue, Mark Meadows, Steve Mnuchin, Larry Kudlow all come out and says, there's a problem. We need an eviction moratorium. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Every Republican said it. And then when they went to write the HEROES Act, did they put in there? No. Did they forget to put it in there? I don't know. Did the president then try to fix it? Yeah. What did he do? He wrote an executive order. He said the Democrats don't want to give it to you. Well, they did. They have it actually in it with correct language. So what did he do? He could have, just taken, just sort of like how you take a Michelle Obama speech, you could have just taken the entire eviction moratorium language from the Democrats and called it your own and just put in an executive order, and there would have been an eviction moratorium, but he didn't. He hired the lawyers. Which lawyers are these? Are these the ones that, I don't know. Which lawyers? He had some lawyers drafted up on a Saturday, and poof, it was there. And it's not an eviction moratorium. It's not an eviction moratorium. Nothing negative about you, sir. Nothing negative about you, sir. I just can't stand that executive order. No one likes it. It's not an eviction moratorium. So when everyone tells you it's not an eviction moratorium, why isn't it being fixed? And why does it say in the eviction moratorium the relief will be to go talk to Ben Carson? About what? How fluffy my pillow is? If I should wrap myself in dandelion flowers and that'll stop my cough? I mean, what am I going to talk to Ben Carson about? That's not relief. Probably gives me more pain talking to Ben Carson than anything else. He closes his eyes all the time. That man's always closing his eyes on Ben Carson. Why am I going to talk to Ben Carson? It doesn't make sense. So as we sit here today, everyone wants to give me an eviction moratorium, but they haven't. The numbers are absolutely horrific, and yet there's no relief. And then there's Nancy Pelosi chasing her mailman. Nancy Pelosi said we couldn't wait till September to give relief because Americans will die. Nancy, do you have a calendar at home? Nancy, have you looked at the calendar? It's very short to people dying. It's like September is just around the corner. And then Nancy uses this expression every single time she talks. American children going hungry. American children going hungry. American children going hungry. American children going hungry. Well, why are you chasing a postman? He doesn't have their meals. He doesn't have their fillet of fish. Why are you chasing a mailman? Ultimately, the attention of Chuck Schumer today, which is who's issuing all these massive press releases about the postman, literally like every 10 seconds, is so exhausting. And to tell you the truth, really pisses me off. Because as I sit here today, I know that you need an eviction moratorium. I have viewers who are living in their cars. I have viewers who were living in their cars, and their cars are now repoed. I have other people who are hoping to live in their cars, but the situation is very dire. And Chuck Schumer is spending every waking breath today talking about the postman. He's issuing a statement about the postman. He's standing there with a picture about the postman. He's talking about the letter he wrote to the postman. He writes another letter to the postman. How do I say this? Chuck, darling, you're one of 4 people in the room to negotiate the second stimulus check. That's your focus between now until it's done. Your focus is not the postman. If you need to do the postman, abdicate your role to be in the room with Marky and Stevie and give it to someone else. Maybe, Caroline can go in there. Maybe, have someone else go in the room, because you should not be using your breath skills to talk about the postman. This is where I get very angry, because the most important thing that this country needs right now is stimulus checks, FPUC, and rent assistance. And the waking breath of every minute coming out of Chuck Schumer's mouth is not eviction moratoriums. It is the postman. Awful. It truly is awful. So, as we sit here today, the strange news, good news, what the hell news, is that there's chatter, and yes, it's political gossip, but there's chatter coming out of Tim Kaine's mouth, who's a Democrat, talking about a Republican, yes, who claims that the president's going to issue a series of executive orders next week. Say what? He claims the president is going to manifest and roll out all this stimulus stuff at the Republican convention. What? Now, I don't want to get your hopes up. I'm telling you, it's gossip from a Democrat to a Republican. But maybe it's really good gossip. Imagine the president got, someone had sent him my videos over rent eviction every single day for the last 4 weeks and say, hey, go fix it, and he fixes it, and you have an eviction moratorium. 1 point for him, 0 points for Nancy. It's as simple as that. Go over on this channel and hit that subscribe and alert button. Please hit that subscribe button. We're coming up on 200,000 subscribers today or tomorrow. No one in the history of YouTube has ever done it. 111 days. Insane. About 3 months. It's all because of the spirit of this channel, helping one another. Coming up after this is Evenings LALATE 1 hour programming block starting at 6:45 with a check, and then going to EIDL tonight at 7:15. As always, stay informed, stay motivated, stay smiling, stay cool, as I've not been able to. It's so hot here. And stay with LA for more.